Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the April 7th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host will be joining us shortly. We have a very exciting show tonight. One, we have an amazing lineup of guests, but we also will be announcing the finalists for the 2026 Black Authors Matter TV Awards. So, I'll talk more about that later. And I wanted to also make you aware of the registration for the National Black Book Festival. It is ongoing. Right now, we're in standard registration. The early bird registration has ended. We're at 72% in terms of our registrations. So our vending space is 72% full. And the number steadily increasing. So if you plan to attend, don't procrastinate. So Rhonda, glad you tuned in. I was checking to make sure. And I have a couple of housekeeping notes after this first interview. But this show tonight is sponsored by Arthur Sherman Dumas, who has a new book out called Family Matters. It's a nonfiction book about family. So he sponsored tonight's show. So we're going to bring on our first guest, and she was on the show, but it's been like maybe 4 years ago. You know, we've had so many guests and so much time has passed, and we're almost at year number 6, which is hard to believe. But we want to welcome Gloria Browne-Marshall back to Black Authors Matter TV. And she has a recent release as well as a lot of other exciting things that she's been doing. So Gloria, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV, and make sure to unmute so we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gwen, for having me. And I still remember going down there to Houston and being part of your festival and being on Black Authors TV. And I'm glad that you're thriving.
Well, we keep forging on ahead. You know, a lot of times I tell people longevity is its own reward. So a lot of people don't have the stick-to-itiveness. That's a word that people don't use that much anymore. But a lot of people, they quit. So we're not quitters. Anyway, I didn't realize all the things that you've been doing since you were on the show, and you made me aware of them. So before we talk about your book, your latest book, tell us about you being an Emmy Award winner and just the book tour that you've been on, and some of the other exciting things you're doing.
Well, this is my 7th book, A Protest History of the United States. And leading up to that book, I had, before this one, She Took Justice, The Black Woman, Law, and Power. I think that was the one I might have had when I was down there, because that one came out in 2020. So that might have been when I was there. I'm not sure, but 2020 was also during the COVID.
That was COVID. We didn't have it in 2020 or 2021. We were virtual. So it was before then. So it might have been the book before that.
Yeah, the book before that one. Oh, it was the Voting Rights War. That was the book before that one, because that one came out in 2016.
Okay.
And so what happened, basically, I teach constitutional law at John Jay College. I also am affiliated with the Africana Studies Department at John Jay College, where I'm a full professor. And so during the time period, I realized that people are not getting civics classes in high school anymore the way they used to, the way we did. You had to take some type of civics class, learn how to government or whatever it was called. So I decided that, and with the great assistance of WHYY, which is a PBS NPR affiliate out of Philadelphia, we created an animated film. And the animated film is called Your Democracy. And Your Democracy won an Emmy. And it also was on the animated film circuit, the film circuit. And so it also won film awards in the United States. And it's been viewed by, in over 50 nations because it's free. It's called Your Democracy. It has no license, nothing. The whole point of it was for teachers, parents, people. Think about this, and especially Houston and other places. You have so many people immigrating into your city who are grown. That means they're not going to have civics classes. And unless they take the citizenship class, they're not going to know American history. So they're entering, and all they get is what's on television and movies. And we know how that depicts folks. So, yeah, so, it was just this great opportunity to have an animated series. It's 10 episodes. Each episode is 5 to 7 segments, 5 to 7 minute segments. And it won an Emmy Award. And it was so exciting, to actually go get an Emmy. And they say the winner is open the envelope and everything. So it was very exciting. And it also won the Silver Gavel Award from the American Bar Association because it was helping people to better understand their Constitution and their constitutional rights and constitutional history. So I'm geeky about constitutional law, but I'm also into legal history. And so all of my books have some aspect of legal history to them. And that's where Protest History of the United States comes in because as somebody who began as a social justice lawyer and then teaching constitutional law and race in the law and other types of classes, I want people to understand all aspects of this country, not just the ones that, they want to commercialize. And protest, I believe, using the First Amendment rights and beyond actually help this country become what it is today. And most people think Santa Claus did it or something. They really think that this just fell out of the sky, that people had power, just woke up and said, oh, I'm going to share my power with other people. That's not how it happened. So my book, A Protest History of the United States, starts with the indigenous. So it goes over 500 years of selected protests and protesters, but it's all based on the foundation of what I gained from my other books that made me say, I've got to write something that actually helps tell the story of how we got the rights we have today so people will stop putting down protests, for one, because a lot of what we have today came from protests, but also realize how many people, I read about these people in my research, but most people don't. And so I wanted them to know that a lot of life, blood, sweat, tears went into the rights we take for granted today. And we need to know at least some of the people who helped to do this.
Right. I too didn't realize, and I don't understand why they stopped teaching students how the government works. That makes no sense to me. And some of these changes, I often wonder whose bright idea was it to remove that from the school? Did they do it because not enough students were doing well? But then that means you need to teach better, not that you need to remove the subject.
But I think it's because they don't want people to have critical thinking skills. Think about it. Why would you invest in voting if you don't even know how the government works? People just tell you should vote, but you don't know the power of your vote. I like to tell my students that if you look at that first paycheck, remember your first paycheck, that little job you had, whatever, that first paycheck, and you got that check and you looked at it, you saw how much the taxes that were taken out. And so I tell my students, look at the state, local, and federal taxes taken out. That's your government. That's your state, local, and federal government. And so your money is paying their salary. So if you add up all these people whose money's going into that, then you see that's where it's going. But if you don't tell anybody about that, if you don't let them see how they have a role in their own government, then why would they care? And if they don't care, then it makes it easier for people in government, some folks who want it that way, just to say, I'll think for you. You don't have to think for yourself. I'll think for you. So you don't even know what your rights are.
No, well, when you said they, I don't know who the they is because it's really nationwide. And so it's not an edict from the federal government. So that means it's happening at the state level.
Why
And
why do you say it's not an edict from the federal government? It
you mean
depends on what federal
removing
government.
civics from classrooms? That's not the
Yes,
role of the federal government.
it shouldn't be the role of the federal government, but then we have a federal government that's disbanding the Department of Education and deciding what the curriculum is supposed to be. So they're having an outside role in the local education system. We have people in particular political parties who are deciding what can and cannot be taught, what books should be banned. Many of the books, and you know this, they're banning all different types of books, and especially books that talk about civil rights, slavery, anything they don't want to hear that has race in it, they are banning those books. So it is a federal government that's saying anti-diversity, equity, inclusion, anti, discussion of anything that deals with race. And when you start saying that from the top, especially from the White House, then you're actually telling the teachers, the librarians, the Department of Education what they can and cannot do, and they're intimidated into like not teaching subjects.
Well, that civics was removed a long time ago. It's not recent. It's
Civics has
people in
been
there. It's been gone for at least 2 decades.
it's been let's
All
just
I'm
say
saying is,
it's
it's
been limited over time. It's still
yes,
sporadic, but it's
yes.
been limited over time. But the
Hmm.
effect of what's going on politically has been going on longer than this one administration. Some of these things have been, if
Yes,
you
that's what
start,
I'm saying.
but it's put a particular political mindset. It's the connection to where we are now. This is a road. That's why I always say to people, stuff doesn't just fall out of the sky one time. People are thinking generationally. And too often, other folks are thinking about what we're going to do for the next family reunion. When other people are thinking, what are we going to do 2 generations from now? So what we're dealing with now has been a road that people have traveled from the Tea Party and even before the Tea Party to get to where we are now with our Board of Education and with the dismantling of the department, or the attempt to dismantle the Department of Education. This is long in the making. We're just seeing it right now because of Project 2025, that they've been so emboldened because they've moved up to this point based on the time they've invested in it. And protest is one way in which people have pushed back against this when their political parties didn't have the courage or the foresight to push back. The people have pushed back. And that's what I wanted folks to know, that the people have used their power to teach, even when teaching wasn't allowed during the time period of slavery, Jim Crow, and other times in which we couldn't have the kind of education or the books we needed for education. People figured out how to teach in the living rooms. So, and that's to me is an act of protest, because you're protesting against the limits people want to put on you. And one of the things I do in my book, A Protest History of the United States, is actually look, and this is the first time I did this, to include memoir. So I include my great great grandmother, Eliza, who was born enslaved in Kentucky and fought against her slave master and slave mistress, and then lived through slavery and left Kentucky for Kansas as part of the Exodusters. So I'm a very proud Exoduster. That's the first great migration of Black people from the South to the North. Those
Mhm.
Exodusters were in the 1870s. So my family's on my mother's side arrived in Kansas from Kentucky in 1879 as homesteaders. So they were trying to figure out how they could make a life in this country despite what the country was doing, not teaching education. Black history, this is the anniversary, 100th anniversary of Black History Month. Somebody had to create Black History Month out of nothing. It's not like they were taught Black history. So we've always been pushing against what people limited us in having. And just because they're limiting civics education and government doesn't mean we have to fall for the okie doke. There are constitutions on our phone that we can read and have constitution classes to better understand our government. But we've got to invest in our kids so that they understand government, even the sound of the word, constitution, the sound of the word sounds boring. So you have to figure out, and that's what I did in this animated series, Your Democracy, that's online on YouTube right now, or you can get it at whyy.org, the website for the producers, is to figure out maybe if we did an animated series, then people would be more inclined to watch it. whether or not they're adults or they're young people.
Maybe I just hate that they don't do it in school because that's where I learned it.
Well,
I
if you
learned how the government works, how long each office is, what the roles are, the three branches of government. All of that I learned in high school. And I don't know if people are beyond getting it in the educational setting. I don't know how motivated they are. That's
well,
all I'm saying.
well, you have to remember, Gwen, that people learn differently. There are still some people who remember, and what I was trying to say a second ago is there are people who remember Schoolhouse Rock, and there are
Mhm.
I was gonna refer to that.
right,
Mhm.
and there are people who still remember I Am a Bill, and that was the way they
Mhm.
Mhm.
remembered
Yes.
the three branches. So you can't say that they have to learn it in an educational setting because everybody learns differently. And so when you hit something like this in different ways, people are going to learn it in different ways. One group may learn it in the educational setting, another group may learn it by looking at it in an animated setting, and so forth. But the important thing is to get the information out there.
Yeah, I just when it's required for students to learn it in school, they actually are forced to learn it. And animation can enhance it. Because when we had the animation you're referring to, the bill, what is a bill and all that, that wasn't replacing the education of it. It
It
was
didn't
enhancing it.
Yeah, it
So,
enhanced. But what I'm saying is that for some kids, that was what clicked for them.
no, I agree with that.
In front of the
I think it should be a requirement. I think every American child should learn
But
how the government
it
works.
it should be a requirement. So then the next question should be, why isn't it?
Well, it
Why
used
was
to
it
be a
before?
requirement. So,
And that's why I'm saying what if you follow logic, if people are taking it out of the classroom and you see how essential it would be in a democracy to know how your government works, then
mhm.
logic would then say, well, why would they take it out of the classroom? What would it benefit them to take it out of the classroom? And it's dumbing down people and undermining critical thinking skills so that you don't care about your government as much, and then it's like saying, no need for you to worry how your government works. I know how it works. You just stay home, don't vote, and be dumb, and we'll take care of all the thinking over here. And that kind of mentality actually has been part of this country for a long time. And that's why when it comes even to protests, I expand the idea of protest. The one thing, and I'm glad it's like three sisters on the line, because too often when it comes to Black women right now, we're like, I'm not protesting, I'm not going out in the street, I'm not risking my life, they're going to beat me up, this is a violent administration and all of that. But it doesn't have to be protest and just going to the streets with a sign. So I protested. My first protest was in the third grade. I protested, Kings, and I wasn't even feeling well. I got out of my sick bed, and if all I did was rock around a sign up and down my street, that's what I did, and got back in my sick bed. So what we're missing is we have many of us, I don't know who all the people are, but I've talked to enough of them who believe that our rights came by way of the tooth fairy or something, that we already did what we needed to do and we don't have to do anything else. Like Santa Claus gave women the right to vote. That the tooth fairy got us the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and the Fair Housing Act. That didn't happen that way. Protests got us that. And we might think, well, I'm tired of protests. Well, so Fannie Lou Hamer might have thought the same thing. Harriet Tubman might have thought the same thing. I think the same thing. Why should I have to keep protesting when there are so many freedom freeloaders? And that's what I call, that's my phrase, freedom freeloaders, because they want to freeload off of the work that other protesters have done and then say, I just want to wake up and live my life. And I understand that. Everybody just wants to live their life. But then who's minding the store? Who's the one who's going to make sure? Right this past week, this administration has decided that it's going to stop taking EEOC claims from people from issues dealing with race. So they're taking EEOC, equal employment opportunity claims from people dealing with, anti-Semitism, but which I still think is disingenuous for a lot of reasons, because they didn't care about the anti-Semitic sayings that were taking place during the first administration, but now all of a sudden it's about anti-Semitism. But I think it's just divide and conquer. Anti-Semitism is real, it's important, it's heinous, but I think they want to just do the divide and conquer game, which is part of what protest has faced. Once you start reading how much we have today that's based on protest, then you realize that sitting it out is not going to work. Because once the ball of oppression starts rolling, it's going to roll over Black women, no matter if we're sitting at home or at our sorority meetings or wherever we may be. It's going to roll over all these people who think they can just sit on the sidelines, because that's the way the country's history has been. And that's why I like to study legal history of this country, because if you watch the laws, you can see how the laws will be used and abused in order to limit the progress of people of color, and in particular African Americans. So my book is not just about African Americans. It starts off, as I said, with indigenous. If you expand the idea of protest, then a slave uprising is protest. That way, if you think about Rosa Parks not giving up her seat, that's protest. But you don't think of Rosa Parks with a sign and a bullhorn in the street. So when you start going through people saying, I'm not going to shop at Target as a protest, there are ways in which people can protest that don't involve going out in the street. But doing something is what's necessary. Pretending like this is not happening and that they can sit it out is not going to work. So that's based on 500 years of my research.
I'm very glad that you make that distinction, because I believe that, and I'm going to say young people, because I'm going to people who didn't grow up in the 60s and who read the books and they watch the movies and they see the civil rights movement. Many people, they romanticize the 60s and they think that everybody was marching in the streets, and they don't realize that there were different types of protests. Not everybody was built for marching in the streets, taking up signs and marching. And it didn't even hit me until I was talking with, he just turned 92 years old, like a few days ago. And I was talking to him, and I'm never going to forget his words. He said that back in the 60s, he told his friend, he said, I'm not going to be able to take part in your protest. I don't want to mess up your movement. He said, because if I get spit on one time, I'm gonna mess up your movement. I'm gonna stay back here, because he was a lawyer. He said, I'll stay back here. I'll be the one to bail people out of jail. I'll be the one to write policy. I'll be the one protesting this way, but I'm not built for marching in the street. And I thought that was so honest, because not everybody was built to take up signs and be in the street. And he knew that about himself. So he did a different form of protest. And I don't think that made him less of a person. He just knew who he was. But I think that now, because we have romanticized the civil rights movement to think that everybody was in the street, and if you're not marching, you're not part of the movement. And I don't think that was really the case. There were people who were strategically not part of the movement, because they were the ones who had to stay on the outside, because they were the ones who were going to bail people out.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much. So, and that's what's so crucial for us to understand. There's a role for everyone. You need somebody who's putting together the bail fund. Who's going to be there just to man the phone, so that when people call saying, I'm in trouble, I need a ride home, so-and-so, I saw this, whatever, you have all different people. There could be somebody there who's just there, not to march, but just to film it. Remember, when you go back and you watch all those films, somebody had to be there to film it. Yep. Somebody had to be there to take pictures. There's so much. And when you come back from a protest march, somebody needs to be there with some food and some hot coffee, there is such a role to play. Who's the driver to drive people to the protest and then pick them up again? There's so much to do, but you've got to do something. And so my book also deals with labor movements. because labor movements were protests. For people to say, I'm not going to take the job circumstances that you're giving me, I'm not going to work under these conditions, I'm going to form a union. Forming a union was protesting labor conditions. So when you start thinking beyond protest movement as a sign in the street, you begin to see that your family probably engaged in some form of protest and you didn't even realize they engaged in protest. You know, we think about how protests could work in our benefit. I'll give this one example. The 8-hour workday. The 8-hour workday. You think Santa Claus gave us that? It was signed into law because signed into law by Ulysses S. Grant. Just think about this. In the 1800s, it didn't become a reality until the 1900s. That's how much protest went into that 8-hour work week. So that's why we wake up every day and we just have all these benefits from protest, and we are not connecting it to the protester or the protesters who don't have a pension plan. They don't have personal days off. You know, they are people who are giving of themselves. They're not paid to protest, even though there's this lie going around of paid protesters. You know, they're not paid to protest. They're giving of themselves, and they make mistakes. Yes, they do, but they're human. And then people give all these criticisms. Why did you say this? Why didn't you say the other? I went on a protest. I had a sign, "We will not be erased or blamed." That was my sign. I led a protest, not this President's Day, but the President's Day of last year, that was with other people from New York, New Jersey, to Washington, D.C. to march on the Capitol. So we were the only Black people there in our little group. They had 2 others who were just sitting around. So if our issue is not at the protest on one of those signs, then who's going to negotiate what we care about? The people are going to go in there talking about ICE and immigration. They're going to be talking about the hundreds of thousands of Black women who lost their jobs. They're not going to think about, you know, the dismantling of finances for HBCUs. They're not going to be in the room talking about anti-DEI and what's being taught in the books being banned by Black people. They're not going to talk about those things because we're not at the table. And if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And that's what I tell people, like, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. Because if they've got to give something up and you're not at the table, you're probably going to be the one they're going to give up in order to get something for themselves. And right now, we are not at the table.
Y'all don't want to know the first person I heard ever say that because y'all don't like her. The first person I ever heard say that was Omarosa.
Well, Omarosa wasn't the one who made it up. She was just the first person you heard say it.
I didn't say she was the one who made it up. I said she was the first person
you heard say it. Now, I have a question because we don't have that much time. We only have a couple of minutes. You said your first protest was in 3rd grade?
Yes.
So what did you protest?
I was protesting because our teacher told us that if they passed this tax levy, that it would help improve our schools. Now, I'm in 3rd grade. What do I know? Levy from Slevy. But she's saying that this money will help our schools be better. We'd have better books. We'd have better things in our schools. And just like back then, the Black schools didn't have as much as the white schools did, and so we went out with our signs. I helped make a little song that we sang and everything. And it didn't pass. It didn't pass. They finally passed a tax levy. And it was like over 10, 15 years later. They finally passed that tax levy. I was devastated because I thought, I did the work. I should win. Our side should win. So that was one of my first protests. And it was one of my first major protest disappointments. And it made me realize to this day as a grown person, decades later, that you've got to be in it in some shape or form, especially as an African American, especially as a woman. You got to be in it. There is no way in the world we've gotten this far for our ancestors who have done so much for us to think that we can sit back and just let them do it out there. They got us in this mess. They can be the ones out there protesting. It's not going to work that way. It sounds good on paper, but in order to make laws that were on paper reality, or as Martin Luther King said, we want you to be true to what you said on paper. What goes back full circle to the Constitution. The Constitution, words on paper, people protested their way into the Constitution. Okay?
Yes,
it did. Yeah, they didn't just say,
happen.
Yeah, it didn't just happen. People had to protest their way into the Constitution to make it apply to them. And those protests in my book, A Protest History of the United States, not only shows the large and small ways in which people have protested, but I think it reminds folks that standing by on the sidelines, and like I said, not everybody's going to protest, but we have to have more than what we have right now. And we have to have a strategy, that word strategy and tactics and creativity in our protests, so that what we've gained all this time is not completely lost. Because right now, people are taking it. And they're not going to stop taking it because they feel bad about taking it. They're going to keep taking it because Black progress offends a lot of folks. And Black progress is what we need to keep going. And protest is protesting the limits they want to put on Black life and Black progress. So just staying true, pushing forward is protest, because it's showing we're not going to be limited by what other people want to put on us.
My first protest was I marched for the Martin Luther King holiday in Washington, D.C. And it was Stevie Wonder was leading the march, and it was snowing. There were thousands of people marching. It was snowing that day. And a couple of years later, it passed. So it became
See?
law. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, that was my first one. And there was a
And
lot of people. And I took off work because with no pay.
okay.
I took a day
Okay.
off from work unpaid because they wouldn't let me have it as a vacation day. So I said, okay, I'm not going to be paid. It'll be unpaid leave, and I took the day off. It was a
And
weekday. I don't know, remember which day it was this week.
just think that songs can be protest. So Stevie Wonder's song was protest. Painting can be protest. Think of all these different ways in which you can have protest. There's so many ways. Also, this one last point, Martyrs Day. This work that I've been doing around the protest history of the United States, 15 months on the road in my book tour, is leading up to July 5th, that I would like to have the nation recognize Martyrs Day. Martyrs Day, in which those protesters who lost their lives can be recognized, lifted up, some attribute given to them for what they have contributed to this country. So it's not just 4th of July holiday, like the Declaration of Independence. Our 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence is this year
Is this sure?
on July 4th.
Mm-hmm.
But that document that nobody reads it. So the Declaration of Independence has its 250th anniversary. I would like on July 5th, the next day, that there be recognition for those martyred activists and organizers and other people who actually put the life into the laws that gave us what we have today and the protections we have today. And so I call it Martyrs Day. And I have a website, martyrsday.us. martyrsday.us. So people can go to martyrsday.us, and we just have a sampling of some of the people whose lives were taken or who lost their lives trying to get the civil rights, social justice, equality, and dignity that we have today that we so take for granted. It did not fall in the sky. Santa Claus did not give us these things. People protested and made it happen.
Okay, well, we're a little bit over our time, but thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Congratulations on your success of your book and your Emmy Award.
Thank you. Well,
And
power to the people.
We'll be on the lookout for your next project, which I know you're working on now.
Martyrsday.us. Martyrs Day on July 5th.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Good night.
Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
Okay. I have to do my other announcements after this interview in between. But our show tonight is being sponsored by author Sherman Dumas, who has a new book that just came out today called Family Matters. So it is available. If you go to Amazon, you can find the book. It's a nonfiction book about family. So our next guest is actually, sometimes the guests kind of, their subject matter ends up being related to each other, but it's not intentional. it's not planned. It just ends up being that way. But our next guest is Nicole S. Palmer, and she has a book that sometimes when I see comments about it, it triggers some people. But her book is called Playing the Game While Black, Oh, but while Black womaning in corporate America. So it's about Black women in corporate America. And that's what Gloria alluded to some of that too in her comments. And I know Rhonda's dissertation was about Black women. What was the treatise that you had, Rhonda?
Death of the Angry Black Woman Syndrome and how it affects African American female leaders in the corporate arena.
Yeah, so it's more corporate. So I was never in corporate. Well, let me say this, not never. It was really so short, right after my college graduation, that it was not really significant. And I knew I wanted to go the entrepreneur route anyway, so I wanted to do it as soon as possible, which I did. So I didn't think I could work in a corporate environment because I'm not. Um, I can follow instructions, but I don't like being controlled. So that doesn't work in corporate. And you have to know yourself. So
I'm a little smart about that work. I just know how to do it.
You got to play the game.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. So I didn't want to waste time bumping my head up against the wall. And when I already knew I wanted to be in business, so that I already knew it at 15 years old. I knew that's what I wanted. So there was no point in me getting.
I don't know. But we're gonna let Nicole.
Yeah.
In any realm, whether you're in business, whether you're in corporate, you're going to have to in certain ways police what you're seeing. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
So
I never had a problem with that. That's not it. I have a low tolerance for BS. Like it. And so if people are just, if it's not working, I'm not good at pretending like something's working just because of whoever it is. And so I mean, you always have somebody you have to answer to. Even as an entrepreneur, you have to answer to your customers, but it's a different relationship. So anyway, Nicole, you have a copy of your book handy that you can show us.
Yeah, I can show you the book.
Yeah. And so, put it closer to your body.
Okay.
Closer to your body. There you go.
All right.
And so I'm assuming that you're in corporate America. I'm assuming that you spent some time in corporate America. I won't ask you which corporation, but which industry? I'll ask which type of industry.
Yeah, so I do consulting work now. So I'm still in corporate, but not in corporate. So I work through a couple of different agencies, and I decided once I put me through the ringer this last time, that's how I was going to move from going forward.
Okay. So is that what the emphasis was for you sitting down and writing your book?
No, funnily enough, I wrote this book while I was on medical leave from the corporate job that shall not be named. We're not going to name and shame them, but so I was on medical leave. And that's when I wrote the book, trying to figure out my life and why I was killing myself for a job that wasn't checking for me. And that's really where the book came about. And then I decided in the process of doing that I wasn't going back to that job. So I made a decision to walk away after medical leave and just focus on consulting and building my own brand and my company, because that is just, like you said, fortunately for you, you learned early on that wasn't for you. I knew, but I was pretending. I think I was in denial for a while. And so now, full circle, I decided that when we're in corporate America, we're not building our own dreams, we're building somebody else's dream, right? And so I learned that I'm still going to get them checks from corporate America, but they're going to fund my passions and my dreams. And that's how I chose to do it differently now.
Okay. So what do you think about Black women, we Black women, that gives us so much of a challenge in some of these settings?
I don't think it's Black women specifically. I think it's how we're perceived. And I think the biggest thing is that there's this notion that we are all the same person. And so because there's this belief that we all act the same, we all react the same to no matter what the situation. That's why all these stereotypes get applied to us. So it doesn't matter where you go. Like, and I always say this. I say I'm black first, woman second. Like that's a double-edged sword, especially in corporate spaces. And so I've been told, like literally by coworkers, Nicole, if I didn't know you, the way your eyes get wide when you're just explaining something, I'd be scared. Then these are people that know me for years. And just, we can't be too expressive because that could be intimidating. We can't be too loud because then we're yelling. And then somebody will be in your face, which has literally happened to me, pointing their finger. And that's okay because they don't look like you. And so there's this notion that all Black women are equal in terms of like how we behave, how we conduct ourselves, and therefore we're all treated equally. Wrongly, but we're all treated equally, and so all the stereotypes get painted on top of us, no matter who we are. The moment we're a Black woman, we're angry, we, are disrespectful, we're insubordinate, we're unprofessional. All of the isms that you can think of also get applied to us. So I've seen it happen too often to not like we can't pretend that that's not what it is. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter where you are, even though the book that I wrote was specifically corporate America. I've had people in other countries reach out and tell me, you literally told my life. And so it just goes to show that it doesn't matter where in the world we are as a Black woman, we're still a Black woman. And therefore,
yeah, there are some assumptions that people make about when they see you. They have assumptions that they make, not knowing you at all.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people will think they're giving you a compliment when they really are insulting you.
Okay. You're so well spoken. You're so eloquent.
Yeah,
like,
that. Yeah.
I've had people like the look on their face when they realize that the person who showed up is because my name does not sound Black. I love people to say that. Nicole Palmer, that could be anything. And I'm so well mannered and spoken on the phone. So I show up, I know right quick which way it's going to go just by the expression on their face.
Well, that happened to me when before I became an entrepreneur. My first name is Guinevere. So my name is not Black. And my resume was not, there was nothing on my resume to let someone know that I was Black. I wasn't trying to hide anything. Because, the school I went to, my organizations, because I went to a PWI, so that's part of it too. But this was back when they did the phone interviews. You show up on the phone. You feel like after the interview on the phone, it's just a formality for you to show up and the job is yours.
Yep.
You show up and the person was clearly not expecting you to walk in. And then there's a backpedal about either the job is no longer available or you wouldn't be a good fit or whatever. When on the phone, I was in there.
You was excited, right? And then you show up like, wait a minute, who's the person we talked to on the phone? Where's she at?
Yeah.
I had 2 or 3 interviews for my job over the phone. So they saw me on my first day of work.
Ooh, and that's something.
Oh, wow.
Better let me surprise one day.
And it wasn't a video interview.
Nope, it wasn't a video.
They never saw a picture. And see, this was before social media, before LinkedIn and all that. There was no internet when
I don't put they might have been able to find me on so I don't hide on social media. My social media is open because I'm an author. And before I got this job, I was pretty much out there, and I had my business on my resume, so they might have seen a picture of it, but it's not like I'm an African American woman on my
right.
I did say I was a part of a sorority, and if they knew anything about sorority life, which they probably didn't.
Yeah. So you didn't lead with that.
But my voice when I talked on the phone, I'm quite sure that they but I don't know, my professional voice is kind of like this. So
yeah. I have actually had a person that I called tell the person that I was asking for is some white woman wants to talk to you. They didn't mute it or so you have your professional speaking voice, and then you have your voice when you're talking to your girlfriends and all of that, and that's normal. But so what are some of the tips in your book, Nicole?
Yeah, so my book is built around 7 rules. And so I
Okay.
have 7 unspoken rules that, to me, if you have ever worked in corporate as a Black woman, they all apply to you. And so that's how I framed the book, because when I started thinking about the fact that this is literally all a game, I had to think about it from that framework and say, well, what does that mean then? Like, what are the rules of this game that we all play just to, keep the bills paid and whatever and so on? And the first thing that, to me, like rule 1 is like foundational. It's like we don't talk about it. So nobody talks about playing the game. Like, we all know there's a game and we all understand that. And when you walk into corporate, like some of the things you learn as you go, like certain people are away. And you sometimes find out by accident, right? Because maybe you speak up in a meeting and then they don't say anything in the meeting, but then they go back to your boss and say something because they didn't appreciate what you said or you disagreed with them. And so sometimes you don't learn about it until after the fact. And we don't necessarily share those learnings across the board, because I think we're all so busy trying to like keep up our defenses as Black women in corporate America. So we're not going to be there unless we share that look across the way. Like, we might be sitting in a meeting together and you across the way and I'm looking at you and we have that knowing. We're not always very aware of what's happening until after the fact, unfortunately. And so I do break down all the things that I learned just from this last corporate job that took me through the ringer, because I'm hoping that I can help one Black woman, at least one, avoid what I went through. And I mean, I know it's reached several more, but that was really my goal. Is like, if I could just help one Black woman to keep them from doing what I did to myself, and seeing it coming, because you see the signs ahead of time, but you still try to like pretend like it's not really happening. And I literally have to end up in the hospital to like, oh, this job is actually really trying to kill me. And I'm sitting here like allowing it to happen because I believe that if I can like outwork myself out of my situation, because I had that whole like pet to thread that Keisha Thomas and her colleagues talk about, where I was like the best since sliced bread, and then I disagreed with her one time. And it all went left. And yeah, so she made it her mission to just like destroy me, and she almost did, and I almost let her. But I got out in time, and I poured it out into this book because I really need us to understand that they're not checking for us. I think this is the most visible example of the fact that corporate America is not checking for Black women. Look at how many of us have lost our jobs. We're pushed out of our, gainful employment with the destruction of DEI. That to me is like very resoundingly is saying what we have known all along. Corporate is not checking for Black women. Not in that way, unless they're trying to prop you up in something, or they're trying to like put up like this front, like they're really like, diversity and inclusion. And I'm not saying there aren't exceptions to the rule, but by and large, it's systemic. And so we have to recognize that and move differently. And that's really what my goal is here, is just to help educate as many Black women as possible.
One thing I'm wondering if you touch on in your book, because sometimes, unfortunately, and this is sometimes a sad reality, is it's not always an us against them situation.
Girl, I know where you're going.
Sometimes it's an us against us situation. I have seen moments where Black men align themselves against us.
Yes.
I have seen moments where Black women are sometimes so hard on us. I don't know if it's because we want to be the only.
Rule 4. That's rule 4 in my book. There can only be one. That's what I call it. So I grew up in like, do y'all know that show? Is it, am I dating myself? Because I grew up like, I'm a child of the 70s and I grew up watching Highlander. And the whole premise was this like sci-fi where like these immortal beings, like
Okay,
their
I
whole
never saw Highlander,
the
but
whole purpose was for them to, be the last one standing. And so
Yeah.
that's literally the tagline, there can only be one. And
oh,
so when I wrote this, that's the rule that I had. I said, that's a lot, that's the mentality that we carry a lot of times, where there's a lot of infighting because it's like, oh, wait, there's already one Black person here. And I've established myself. And so I had a lot of situations where I'd be the new kid on the block, but there was like, it's almost like the seat was already taken. And so unless they were willing to like extend a hand, which very rarely that happened, they're saying, oh, wait, you're coming for my seed. So now I got to fight for it. And so there's a lot of competition. And sometimes they don't do it to your face. Sometimes they do it behind your back. And so I talk about that. So it's not just like, oh, it's all the man is evil. No, we do this to ourselves too. And I definitely talk about those instances. One of my mentors who was high up in the organization as a Black woman let me down in the most disappointing way and told me about it after the fact. And I'm like, well, you didn't stand up for me. All she told me was like, oh, yeah, I couldn't believe they were saying that about you. Well, did you say something? No, because she was trying to protect her position. And so that's the unfortunate trap that a lot of us are in, where we believe that there's only one seat at the table, but it's their table, right? And so if we stop believing that only one of us can have opportunities there, we could probably do something much more like progressive than what we allow because of that infighting. And it could be Black men and Black women, but I focus specifically on Black women because a lot of the unfortunate experiences that I had in that, as it pertains to that rule anyway, were at the hands of Black women.
It sounds like we don't really have natural allies in corporate America. And
They're
so,
rare.
yeah, so, if it's a young white guy, he knows his mentor ally is going to be another white guy.
Yep.
And white women, from my experience, are not our allies they really see us as competition and not in a good way. So, and then it sounds like, see, I haven't been in it, but I just observed just different situations, not even corporate, just like being on boards or, just operating, even as an entrepreneur, dealing with other people. Sometimes they will make assumptions about, they underestimate your intelligence a lot of times, or they'll insult you by asking you to do something that clearly you should be paid to do, but they want you to do it out of some sort of altruism or government, like you are a government agency. your time is open, it's available to people who need it, and you shouldn't be paid for your expertise. So, and that happens within our community and other people who we talk to, and we have challenges. A lot of times you just have to you can't let it stress you out, because then you end up with health issues. And then if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Because so I really feel for when Black women who are in corporate. I never wanted it. I saw some things early on. I worked one of my early jobs right out of college, well, soon after college, was actually at a Black consulting firm in DC that was started by a Black woman.
Okay.
She was the president or the CEO. I forgot which one she was, but she started the business. And it ended up that her mother was from this little small town in North Carolina, and her mom dated my dad when they were in high school. It was weird. Anyway, that was like something I found out later. But she hired a white guy to be the face of the business because she felt like, and probably rightly so, he could get indoors and get at tables that she couldn't get at. And even though the company was called, and it doesn't exist now, it ended up folding, but it was called Wilson Hill Associates, and she was Hill. Patricia Hill was her name. But they would look to him, you know, for answers. And like she was just like, almost like his secretary. It was her business. So you can, I mean, whatever role we're in, it can be challenging. It's just, you know, we have to meditate, you know, pray, have just to make the stress level, to lower your stress level, because, you know, we're considered to be a threat in a lot of situations. Unfortunately. And not you know, we, instead of looking at us as an asset to help build the corporation, internally, a lot of people will see us as a threat. I guess for what they see as a limited opportunities. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But
we have just a few minutes left. I did want to see your thoughts, and I know you put this in your book. I know you did, because I've only known you for about 20 minutes. I know you put this in your book. What are your thoughts on code switching?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody mentioned that in the comments.
Listen.
So I'm glad you brought it up.
It is something it's unavoidable. I mean, I think that everybody can have their opinion on that. I know that some people believe in like bring your whole self to work. That's a trap. Okay? Like that is a straight trap. And I think that there's a difference. And I kudos to the younger folk, the braver folk that are going into corporate and saying, this is who I am and deal with it or don't deal with it. And I can make this my last day. Look, we grew up in a different time. So when we, like back in the day, you know, when we grew up, you know, we were always told speak properly. We weren't allowed to speak broken English or slang outside of the house. That would get your tail lit up by your parents. That's how, and plus my parents were from the Caribbean. So that was like, I wasn't even allowed to speak patois in the house. Like, no. Now you speak proper English, period. And so there's all of this pressure. So it was expected that you speak proper English when you are in a corporate setting or in mixed company, either one, okay? Because that's also a thing. And so whether that is something that people feel like, well, we shouldn't have to do that, I promise you, they look at that. They might not say to your face. Now, I think now it's a little bit more insidious the way that they punish you for it. And so, yeah, they'll tell you bring your whole self to work, but they are keeping a list of individuals that are bringing their whole self and how much of their whole self they're bringing to work. And trust and believe it will come back to haunt you. It's not fair. And so that's the thing that I talk about in the book. I don't think it's fair that it's a game. I don't think it's fair that it's rigged. I'm just stating that it is. It is, but it's factual. So I'm just saying, look, we know that we know the minefields are there. We know the traps are there. I'm just showing you where they're at. That's all. I didn't put them there.
And you're not saying these traps are great. These traps are wonderful. You're not extolling the virtues of traps. You're telling people, look, there's a trap up ahead. Right. You're not giving it a value.
You know, and also the other thing I want to point out, because this has come up a lot, there's this not a divide, but a lot of discourse around introverts versus extroverts, and how like, well, if you're the quiet one, leave the quiet ones be, and you know, don't worry about them and all this stuff. Yes, I agree. I promise you, I am an introvert, although I may not look like it. Like that's just who I am. But the reality of it is, and this is rule number 2, there are no spectators, right? So you can say, look, I'm just gonna keep my head down, my nose clean. I'm gonna mind my business. You know, whatever anybody else wanna do, that's fine. I'm just gonna mind my business and do my little job over here. They're watching that. Oh, well, she's not a go-getter. She's
a team player.
She doesn't have initiative.
Okay.
Times I was told by people like, oh, I thought you were like the B word. And then I got to know you. And I'm sorry, what? Just because I kept to myself.
On my job who I thought were total buttholes, and I got to like them after I got to know them.
But you don't tell them to their face.
I had a white guy on my job who said it in a meeting. He said, yeah, when Rhonda first met me, I know she was like, who's this butthole?
But you laugh with them. It's like, you don't tell them. It's like,
I mean, I was like, yeah, I thought that, but I wasn't going to tell him at first.
And so that's what I mean. And so I think that there's this notion that the old rules don't apply. They're still very much there. Okay. Racism been around for a hot minute. It has outlived all of us. It has been here.
Multiple generations of us.
So we can believe that these things don't exist and aren't real. They're real. They're still being used to get you out of your job. Like, people will wait. I've had coworkers who had one dust up with their supervisor, and I tell you, the person waited years until their right moment, and then got them the one time that they did something that they couldn't walk back and use that thing to get rid of them. So they remember. They keep track. And I'm not trying to say this like as a paranoia thing, but they take notes and they do, take account of all these things. So we just have to move differently. And I hate that that's the case, but that's why it's a game.
Yeah. Well, we're at the end of our time, and show your copy of your book cover one more time, Playing the Game While Black Womaning in Corporate America.
Yes.
So get your copy. And Nicole she didn't leave anything out. She left there's no holds barred. So she tells the real deal about what to expect and how to avoid some of the traps and minefields.
Yes.
Nicole, you're my friend now. I'm going.
Oh, come find me, please. I'm everywhere. Just NicoleSPalmer.com, blackwomaning.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Please do find me.
Yes. Yeah. We have to compare notes.
Yes.
Okay. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Before we bring on our next guest, I wanted to do a couple of things. I wanted to give Rhonda her accolades for winning an award and also for launching her magazine, Meet the World. Is it Meet the World magazine? Is that the name of it? And the award you got for your book that I read, the holiday novella, she got one award for that. So just tell us what the award was.
Well, I got an International Impact Award for contemporary fiction, women's fiction. Well, actually, it was women's fiction for this book right here, Surprise White Browne.
Yes.
And I was actually kind of shocked. I was checking my email for something else. I had applied for the award like months ago. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was checking my email for something else, and then I saw congratulations, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, sometimes it happens like that. You forget about it. You put the applications in, then you forget about it, and then you see it. This is exciting anytime. So congratulations. I wanted to just let the audience know about that, and to wish you congratulations publicly. And so the launch of your magazine. Now, how often is your magazine?
The magazine is going to be quarterly. So the next edition will be released in June. So okay. I'll be looking for my my cover story possibly next month. So if anybody would like to advertise in the magazine, or if you're interested in submitting, go ahead and hit me up. But one thing that we want to do, we take pride in making sure that the magazine is presented with a lot of care and professionalism. So the magazine is very neatly laid out. We don't just throw things in there. We like to use good quality photos, well-edited stories, and then very informative stories. We want to make sure that everything in there is not just a story just for story's sake, and it's not just a bunch of Q&A. We want it to be actual articles where you're going to be able to walk away with some information. So we've gotten some very good feedback on this first edition. So we're looking forward to the next one being even more informative.
Okay. So our next guest has been on the show before. It's been a minute or so. But also this episode of Black Authors Matter TV is sponsored by author Sherman Dumas. I want to say Stephen, and he has a new book out called Family Matters. So we appreciate his sponsorship. And Angela was on the show before. She's a podcaster herself, and she also has a new book out. So she's going to tell us about both of those things. And if you're on Facebook, I don't know if she does it on Instagram or not, but she'll post her conversations with different people when she has those. And I don't know how often she does that. So we'll find out all that. And Angela, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to hang out with you guys. Hey, Rhonda, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you.
So your podcast is called
Angela's Literary Cafe.
Okay.
Gwen, you know I am a bookish girly through and through, so you know it has something to do with books.
Yes. So how often do you do? Is it scheduled, or do you do interviews and then post them just?
Oh, they're live. They are all the way live.
You're live. Okay, you're live. You're live.
They are live. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then sometimes we'll do a Saturday interview as well.
Oh, okay. So is it 30 minutes or an hour?
It's 30 minutes. Yep, it's 30 minutes per author.
Okay. So you do just one author on Tuesday and Thursday. Is that what you do?
Yes, for the most part, it's one author, but every now and then, like a couple of weeks ago, I had, there was an anthology. So I had a group of authors there. Sometimes if there is an anthology or there is a group project, fiction project, I may have multiple authors on there. Or if I have a special show or what have you, then there may be multiple authors as well. But the normal shows is just one author to spotlight their book, whether it's a new release, whether it's a book that recently released, or it can be something that is from their catalog, or if there's a special time like audiobook month or something like that as well.
So how long have you been doing your podcast?
Wow. It's been a little about 5 years. It literally went live as far as virtually right around that pandemic time, so around 2020. But prior to that, it was actually in-person literary cafe events. But the virtual, it has just been a winner. Again, it's a way to bring authors and readers together. I have international authors who joined the show. I have tons of authors that have visited that they're actually in the UK. I've had an author that she lives in Africa. So of course, we have to coordinate the time zones and stuff like that. So I guess we can say the Literary Cafe is internationally known.
Okay. Awesome. I love that you're getting international people on the show because I've been finding out, since I've gotten into the podcasting game, that a lot of our international readers love reading American fiction and African American specifically.
They do. I think a couple of weeks ago, Tammy Hoof, she came out with her book Inharmonious, and she was at the Literary Cafe. And if you guys have not read, I don't know if you guys enjoy historical fiction like the way that I do, but that book is a dear. It's a 10. I absolutely love that book by Tammy Hoof. And so she was on the Literary Cafe. And a lot of times when I have the international authors, a lot of times that those interviews will be earlier in the day, like around 1 o'clock or what have you, because of course that they are a couple of hours ahead of us or what have you. So at 7 o'clock it's kind of like later evening for them. So usually around 1 o'clock is like that sweet spot to do those types of interviews.
Okay, now what's the last name of the person you said? Tammy?
Tammy Hoof.
Tamye,
and then her last name is Huff. Huff, I think it's 2 F's in there.
Oh, so it's Huff, but it's pronounced Hoof?
It's pronounced Hoof, and she just had a historical fiction book to come out in February. It's called Inhumanious, and it is absolutely amazing. It's a World War II. It's basically from that Black experience of those soldiers fighting in World War II. It's just an amazing, amazing story. I absolutely love it. And believe it or not, Gwen and Rhonda, I still have a book hangover from that book.
Oh, okay. Well, historical fiction is my favorite genre. So
Yeah.
I hadn't heard about this one. I thought I thought I was on top of all of them like 6 months before they come out. So this one got past me. I have to look it up and see. So it's World War II a set time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And does it go past that, or is it all in that?
No, it's pretty much in that whole vein of World War II. Yeah, but when you read it, it absolutely makes sense as well. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I love it from any era, really.
Okay.
There's not an era that I don't like, and my favorite era is pre Civil War.
Okay.
That's my favorite. If somebody can write, if somebody's a good writer, and they can write a book about the era before the Civil War for Black people, not everyone can do it, but if they can do it, that's it. I've read some amazing work from that era. That's so. I'm with you on that. We're kindred spirits with the historical fiction. Mystery thriller is my next one, my number two.
Gwen, you speak in my language. I love a good mystery thriller. I even like psychological thrillers. I am an eclectic reader through and through, literally.
Okay, yeah, those are my main. Now I'll read with this women's fiction or regular fiction. I don't
like women's fiction. I'm not a huge fan, believe it. I know I just wrote a rom-com, but my rom-com is a little different. I don't like the formulaic romance. I'm not really.
Okay. Now, Rhonda, did you say you don't like women's fiction, or you don't read it a lot?
I read women's fiction. I like women's fiction. I'm not a big fan of straight romance books.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So you like
I'm there too.
Yeah, I like
my thing.
I like the story. I don't like romance. The formula.
Yeah, the formula. Because it's all the same plot almost. I mean, to me, I need more.
What makes it romance that happily ever after, or is it that happily ever after for now?
Right.
But yeah, I love a good romance too, and then I love romantic suspense. I love a rom-com. So like I said, I'm just an eclectic reader. Give me a good story as well. Women's fiction. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you guys read Vanessa Miller's The Light on Halsey Street. Oh my goodness. Now that women's fiction, Rhonda. Oh my goodness. If you have not read Vanessa Miller, The Light on Halsey Street, that's the one that took place in Bedside, New York.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. I haven't read that. I've read several of her other books, like her last two, The African Queen, or The American Queen, and The Filling Station.
Yeah.
I love how we talk about books the way some people talk about movies. I think we've got to talk about books because people talk about movies. Oh, you got to see it. You see it all the time on Facebook. Oh, like Beauty in Black. Don't get me wrong. I watched Beauty in Black. I enjoyed Beauty in Black. But people were talking about Beauty in Black and making people actually want to watch Beauty in Black. But people don't talk about books enough. The way they talk about these TV shows and the way they talk about movies. And if I was talking about this, I was interviewed on a podcast last week, and I was talking about Waiting to Exhale. If you remember Waiting to Exhale, everybody was talking about Waiting to Exhale, not the movie, but the book. If you watch Rock, if you remember Rock with Charles S. Dutton back in the day, there was an episode where his wife was sitting on the sofa reading Waiting to Exhale, and she was reading, and she goes, "No, she didn't." And then she turned the page. Yes, she did. And then I was just watching Oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart. What was the college TV show we all used to watch?
Oh, Different World?
Yes, A Different World. I was watching A Different World just last night. And there was an episode where they all had like a book club meeting and they were all reading Waiting to Exhale. Waiting to Exhale they had product placement out of this world.
Yeah, that's
reading
true.
Waiting to Exhale. We don't really see that type of product placement with books as much as we used to anymore. And if we started promoting our books like that, the way we used to promote Terry McMillan back in the day, I mean, books would just really take off, but we're not talking about, we talk about them in our book communities.
In the bookish community, yeah.
For culture, the way we do with TV shows and movies, there will be a lot more up and coming authors who would get a lot more play. But right now, we only talk about the popular authors. I love Kennedy Ryan. Believe me, I read her books. I love Vanessa and I love all of the people. But we talk about the popular authors a lot, but we don't talk about the up and coming authors and give them that push the way we do with the popular books.
Yeah, it seems like there's like a list of a few. Back when you're talking about a Different World and those things, there was a list of one. That was getting a lot of play.
But that's my point. I'm not saying it was wrong with what we did back in the day. I'm just saying I would love to bring that back. How we talked about books, how we gave that placement to books, and it would be lovely to see the way we got behind those books, how we made that book so popular. That was the reason they made that book into a movie, is because of how popular we made that book.
Yeah, I wonder if they. I'm sure that they paid for that. I don't think it was like a spontaneous thing, because the people who make the shows, they probably wouldn't allow something to get exposure like that unless they were paid. You know what I mean?
And one of the things that I say, Gwen and Rhonda, for most people who know me or around me, I was like, one thing about me, I'm going to talk about books. I'm literally going to talk about books. And one of the things that I enjoy about the Literary Cafe is that and I'm glad that Rhonda mentioned that. I have indie authors on my show, as well as traditionally published authors. I have authors that this is their debut book on my show, as well as authors that have been out, for a long time, as well. And there have been some amazing authors that people may not hear about a lot, like Olivia Shaw Real. Oh my goodness, she has a book that I absolutely love. Natasha D. Frazier, she has some amazing books that I enjoy as well. So there are a lot of authors that they have come to my show and have been on my show multiple times talking about their books. So I'm glad that Rhonda did mention that I like to also give those individuals, a spotlight on my show. And of course, when I read their books, I definitely talk about their books as well, which you guys are probably familiar with. Lerner Lewis, her book, which was an NAACP nominated book, Sky Full of Love.
Yes, she was on.
For me, guys, that was my book of 2025. That was like my top book of 2025. That book is amazing. I still have a book hangover. She literally came to the cafe and did a book discussion, but that book is amazing.
The book hangover.
That's the word of the day. A book. If a book can give me a book hangover, I'm in there. And the other word that I use a lot, Rhonda and Gwen, which you guys may be familiar with this, but in my bookish community, we were like, that book is a deer. It is a drop everything and read. And of course, A Sky Full of Love is definitely a deer. It's a drop everything and read. And whenever I'm telling people about it, I started with the premise. I was like, what would you do, if you was missing for 15 years, kidnapped, only to be found, and your sister has married your husband. Hey, think of that. I was like,
we read it. Our book club read it, and I was like,
I'm gonna have to go to work.
So you have you read it? Have you read that one, Rhonda?
I have not, but it's on my list.
Okay,
Rhonda, I behoove you to push it up on your TBR.
Yeah, push it closer to to like the next month's worth of reading, because it's worth reading. It was but I could never get past the sister that couldn't find somebody else except you couldn't find somebody else to marry except your sister's husband. I don't care if you thought she was dead. It's just the idea. It's just, I mean, of all the men in the world you could have hooked up with, you decide to hook up. And this is early. This happens in the beginning of the book. So we're not giving a spoiler, Rhonda. This is early on.
If you and Rhonda, if you are familiar with Lorna Lewis's work, even when she was writing under L.A. Lewis, she is the queen of those morally gray areas. I mean, she beats touching. She has a book under L.A. Lewis called Torn. Oh my goodness. And the daughter has to decide which parent gets her kidney. I mean, you only can donate one kidney. So literally, when I say she is the queen of those morally gray areas, like what would you do? Oh my goodness. So when she came out with this book on a Lorna Lewis, I was like, yeah, that is her signature.
Yeah, I asked her what made her think of the storyline. And it wasn't that I thought it was based on, the girl in Ohio that was missing and somebody had him in the basement. And she said, no, she thought about it was because her mom passed away.
Yeah.
And, she was thinking, what if we thought she had passed away and then she showed up, years later. And, the situation with somebody, her dad might have remarried or whatever, But I thought it was based on the girl in Ohio that was kidnapped and in a basement for 10 or 15 years. But it was kind of similar, but she did a very good job of telling that story.
Yes.
It's well worth reading. So
Rhonda, when you read it, Rhonda, you're gonna have to hit me up in the DMs and let me and Gwen know that you're reading it.
Yes, you will. Now, somebody, the Social Book Club, she wanted to know what book again. So Rhonda, you're better at putting it because I have to do it on my phone if I do it. Do you know the name of the book? It's a sky. Well, let me just go ahead and tell you.
A Sky Full of Love.
Sky Full of Love.
By Lorna Lewis.
A Sky Full of Love.
Yep.
Okay, and it really is a really great story, and it got nominated
for NAACP award.
But I think that category was it in debut novel category.
I cannot remember what category
because
she was
the
in.
person, I think it was even because it was a debut novel for her under Lorna Lewis.
Yes,
but the person who won was a guest on the show too. So it was Charles Fancher. I haven't read his book yet. I have it. It's called Red Clay, and it's historical. It's historical fiction. And if somebody writes a book that's historical fiction, I am most likely going to buy it just on the principle of it.
So you are a historical fiction girl.
I may not read it. I may not even get to it. It might be 2 years before I get to it. But I'm very likely to purchase it. Because I've never read a bad historical fiction book. Normally when people write historical fiction, they're taking care because they have to get facts and they have to go back in time and they have to create the scenes from the past. And I've never read one that was bad. And I've read some that are great and some that are good. I've never and some that are just okay, but I've never read one that was a bad book.
Yeah.
Well, I don't read bad books to the end. So I just don't.
Let me ask you this, because you're saying that you are a historical fiction girly. Do you love the ones that I call it edutainment, the ones that educate you and they also entertain you at the same time, like Harlem Rhapsody? That book was edutainment that for me, and then the one From the Love of Harlem by Rashana Tate, that was edutainment. I love those ones that educate and they entertain and they make you want to go and find out more information. Is that you too with historical fiction, or
no? You know what? I'm more into the characters. I'm more into how well the main characters are developed and the dialogue.
The character development. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. And now I have read With Love from Harlem, but
With Love from
I
Harlem, yeah.
have Harlem Rhapsody, but I haven't read it yet. But it's on my
Okay.
it's part of my group that I'm planning to read. Have you read Zeal by Verlin Jerkins?
No,
I heard
tell
that
me
was
about it.
good. I haven't read it. It's in my list. I'm telling you, every historical fiction that comes out, if it's by a Black author, then let me preface it that I'm most likely gonna buy it.
We got 5 minutes left. For Angela, don't you have a book?
It's not like Gwen is gonna buy the book. She'll get to it. She will get to it, but she's gonna buy it.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy. If it's historical fiction, I'm gonna buy it.
I love it.
90% that I'm gonna purchase the book, not the Kindle, because I don't read on my Kindle anymore. I just prefer a physical book.
Yeah,
I had the Kindle for a while.
I can't read. I've been trying to read the books on my phone. I can't concentrate on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
to me, the Kindle's
$1 million question.
like
Does
this.
Gwen and Rhonda, do you all do audiobooks?
Yes,
Rhonda loves audiobooks.
Audiobook girly. I'm an audiobook girly. I have to do audiobooks because that's the only time I really have time to read, because I'm always working when I'm home. I'm on a podcast twice a week. I get interviewed for podcasts twice a week. So, and then I have books I gotta edit, and then I have work I gotta do. I got AI consultations. I don't really have time to sit down and read. So I have to listen to books as I'm driving somewhere. So I do a lot of audio books.
Yeah.
So I sit down and read. It's just hard. And when I get
I enjoy your audiobook too.
When I get my nails done, I try to read my my ebooks. But that's not, I try to read an ebook, but it's hard to concentrate reading my ebooks.
Yeah, see,
so Rhonda, do you purchase your hardcover books, or not hardcover, or your print copy books? Do you get those with the autographs? But mainly, you listen to audiobooks and your Kindle when you're busy.
Yeah, most of the time, if I have a print copy book, a paperback book, is because it's an autograph book.
Gotcha. What about you, Gwen?
As Rhonda knows, I'm not into the audiobook thing yet. I tried to read one audiobook and all I did was fall asleep every time every time the voice would just lull me to sleep. And maybe it was the book. I don't know. I think I don't know if I can listen to a book and get the same
Gwen. I don't know if Rhonda has listened to these two audiobooks. Judge Stone is, of course, it's by Viola Davis and James Patterson, but she did the audiobook.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then If I Ruled the World, that book in audio, oh my goodness. So you have to have the right narrator, but those two books in audio was just like amazing.
I'm listening to Judge Stone now. That's
okay.
Judge Stone, I was like edge of my seat I'm talking to the audiobook like they can hear me talking or what have you. And I love those books where I'm literally like the audiobook can hear me when I'm having a conversation with them. But yeah, Judge Stone was amazing to listen to in audio.
That was really good. You have to read Judge Stone.
Okay. I've been seeing that book online and I can't figure out what it is. Like, so is it a novel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a novel. It's a novel.
So Viola Davis is writing now?
A collaboration between Viola Davis and James Patterson.
Mm-hmm. And then Viola Davis does the audio. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I've been seeing it, but I didn't know exactly what genre is it?
It is courtroom drama, courtroom thriller.
Yeah, courtroom drama.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well,
no, Angela, don't you have a book? We got
you have a book. And so why do you have a copy of your book?
You get me to talking about books. Look, that's all you have to say is something about books, and I'm talking about books. But yes, I have 2 books now.
Okay. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So tell us about your books.
Well, if you guys remember, 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, I came out with the first book, which was The Power of I Am. It's a 21-day affirming you. And so over time, people started asking, like, hey, can I write in the book? Can I journal in the book or what have you? So I often tell people, I was like, you asked, I listened, and now it's here. And I came out with the workbook and journal that goes along with it. And so basically, one of the things that I say on the back of the book is I was like, you've poured into everybody else, now is your turn, because so much of us as women, we work on from an empty cup, and we're like running on fumes or what have you. So I wanted women, particularly, anybody can read the book, but especially women, I wanted them to have a safe space to kind of take the time to pour back into themselves, because I often say you can't pour from an empty cup. And so pretty much it's like the Power of I Am workbook and journal. It's your invitation to pause, reflect, and reclaim your voice. Over 21 days, you're engaged with daily quotes, affirmations, and a guided prompt that help you inward refill what's been empty and rise to the occasion of showing up for yourself. And I make sure that I let them know, Rhonda and Gwen, that this is not just your ordinary workbook. It's a mirror, it's a movement, it's a bold declaration.
Now, you are all about books and being bookish, but the book that you wrote is more of a motivational book.
Yep,
so what
I did
what made
nonfiction.
you go into that lane? What led you in that direction?
Well, if anybody follows me on social media, I am all about being positive. I'm all about being in a positive space. I'm all about pouring into yourself. I'm about self-care. I'm about, just being an inspiration to other people. And so when it was my turn to do a book, I went the nonfiction route. And of course, The Power of I Am came to me first, about affirmations and the importance of your words and speaking life and those types of things. So that's how I kind of went into the nonfiction segment of, or genre, what have you, instead of going into fiction. I love to read fiction, but nonfiction right now is my lane.
Okay, yeah, see that's me. Well, I wrote 2 novels, but my books, well, then I have 6 children's books, which are somewhat fiction.
Wow.
Yeah, I have 6 children's books. They're somewhat fiction, but not really, because my passion is business. So my children's books are about that. So
okay.
It's how, learning how Kids Biz is a series of 5 books where children, they learn how to earn money for things they want. And then I have a book called Boss Women, which is actually 7 biographies of Black women who started their businesses from the ground up. But it's a children's book. So, and it has some names you might know, but industry related. For example, the Honey Pot founder is part of that book, as well as the woman who did Camille Rose Naturals. So it's it actually, I get a lot of adult women getting motivated by reading that book. I wrote it as a children's book, but it tells the story of how each person got started and built.
Wow.
But it does it in rhyming form. So it was my first and only book that I did rhyming in.
Wow.
And I wasn't sure I could do it. And with the help of, Googling what rhymes with house, which words rhyme with house, then you end up finding the words and putting it together. So then I have other books that are nonfiction. I'm working on a book right now that I hope to have out by June or July.
Okay.
So it's about planning a book event. So that's not the title, but it's a how-to on planning a book
event. And I know you and Rhonda are familiar with that because you guys have your event that you do every year as well. That's a whole segment in itself, the behind the scenes of book events.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm about 2/3 done. So I'm on track to finish it by June or July. And then I might have one other book I release later in the year, but it's not going to be fiction either. Fiction, both of my novels took me 5 years each to write. And so it takes me a long time to write fiction.
Okay.
I have to, you have to create these people, and and the story has to move. You have arcs. It has so many parts. with nonfiction, you take a topic, your chapters are really your outline, and then you research or you do anecdotes, and it moves the story, it moves itself.
Yeah.
Whereas, and some people say that about writing fiction. They're really good at it. Rhonda's novella was very good, that she did her holiday novella. I enjoyed
Go,
it.
Rhonda.
And she just got the award for it. So I enjoyed it. And I really don't read novellas, but that one was, and you know what? When I was reading it, Rhonda, I could hear your voice in some of the dialogue. Like I said, this is what Rhonda would say.
Rhonda, I'm like, wait a minute, Gwen, first pause. You don't write novellas? What's wrong with novella?
I like a full-blown novel. I like a full-blown story.
But Gwen, well, never mind, because you said you don't really do romance. You don't like romance books.
No.
Okay, never mind.
I want a 250 page plus. That's what I want.
I was going to tell you about Rhonda McKnight's. She has a billionaire series, and they are novellas, but they are like edge of your seat. That's like, you don't do novellas.
No, I like a story, a full
story. Gotcha.
250 pages plus.
Gotcha.
It depends, because this was supposed to just be a holiday story, and I wanted to keep it short.
Okay.
So, but yeah, some of my older work is longer. And when I get ready to write my next fiction, that one's going to be longer. But it was only supposed to be a holiday story. So I said I was going to write it shorter. And actually, it wound up being longer than I planned for it to be.
Now, Rhonda, I was going to ask you about that, because you said that this one was a novella. Did you find that it was that it's easier for you to write a full length versus a novella? Like, do you feel like there's a constraint with you when you're writing a novella?
Well, for me, because I'm a description person, sometimes yes. Because I want to spend more time sometimes with the characters. That's why this book wound up being longer.
Gotcha.
But I got ready to write this book. I said it's only going to be 25,000 words.
And, yeah.
I went in the word only going to be 25,000 words. It was going to be a short novella. And because I said, I'm only going to write this. It's only going to take me a month to write this. I'm going to get this done. And then I started spending time. I was enjoying writing the story, and I wound up going over my limit.
Yeah, but the story that you told
a lot about you and Gwen and your bookish girly things.
Oh, okay. Well, Rhonda, the book, the surprise swipe, is it swipe left or right? Which one is
you don't swipe left, that means you don't like the person.
Okay, well, anyway, I couldn't remember if it was left or right, but I wouldn't know because I don't go on dating apps, and I only hear about it. I've never been on a dating app ever. I mean, why would I? But unless it was out of curiosity. But your book, it's not, even though you wrote it as a holiday story, it could have happened anytime.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
What happened?
That's the reason why I still continue to promote it, because it's a good story no matter when you're reading. It just happens to take place around the holidays.
Yeah, or it could be, this is maybe for the future. It could have been like up to Valentine's Day and like ended with Valentine's Day being the culmination.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was a good story, and it kept me turning pages. And I've got the actual book. And like I said, it was several parts of the dialogue. I could hear Rhonda's voice saying it. I knew it was her. So, but it was good. Well, we're past our time, Angela. We had to announce our finalists for the Black Authors Matter TV Awards for 2026. And so we appreciate having you on the show. You really got us involved in the discussion. It was supposed to be about you, and it ended up being about just books.
You were fun, Angela. We have to do this again sometime. I'm gonna have to.
Yes, I would love to come and hang out with you guys and talk about books. And thank you for having me. I enjoyed myself tonight.
Well, you're welcome. We enjoyed having you.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, as you all know, every year we do the Black Authors Matter TV Awards. And what the awards are is a recognition of the people who we've interviewed on the show in the past year. It goes from March to March, not from January to December. So it's from March of 2025 to March of 2026. And you all voted, and we got, close to 1,000 votes total, close to 1,000 ballots, I should say. And so what happens is the top 5 vote getters in each category are the finalists. And then the finalists, we will start voting for them from April 14th to the 28th. That's when we vote for the finalists. And then the top vote getter among the finalists is the winner, and they get the actual award. And the award show is May 12th. So we're going to start with, and it's 15 categories. We divide them up based on the guests who appeared on the show, what their book was about, if it was a book related, if it was actually an author, if we have a bookstore category as well. And then we have a category called book industry support, which includes book clubs, podcasters, publishers, anybody that doesn't appear on the show as an author. And because a lot of people wear a lot of hats. So it's based on what their capacity was when they appeared on the show. So some of the book industry support people are authors, but they didn't appear on the show as authors. They appeared in some other capacity. So anyway, Rhonda and I are going to trade off, alternate, take turns announcing these finalists. So the first category is biography memoir. I'm going to announce the finalists for that. And the in each category, the finalists are alphabetical based on their last name. So they're not in the order of how many votes they got. This alphabetical by last name. So the first category, biography memoir, the finalists are Veronica Brown, Monique Kleska, Robin Allison Davis, Darian Knight, and Tara Roberts. So congratulations to those finalists. And these are all the top vote getters in their categories. So Rhonda's going to go next.
All right. We are moving on to the children's category. So first is Isaiah Alford. Next is Tamika Fryer Brown. Then we have Kendall Gray, Cynthia Green, and then Jennifer and Zariah Richardson Wilhite. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was a mother-daughter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So congratulations to all those children's authors. We had a lot of children's authors on the show over the last year. Some of the categories had a smaller number of people. Some of them had a big number of people. So next, and sometimes we have to combine categories because every category had to have at least 6 people so we could have 5 finalists. So that led to some combining of categories, which we do each year, and it's not always the same ones that we combine. So this next category, we have Christian fiction, religious faith, and motivational together as one category. And the finalists are Dr. Tammy Fleming, Dr. Sasha Griffith, Shonda Allen Hill, Tracy Robinson, and Kiana Rapt. So those are the finalists for that category. And also, you all will get to vote on the finalists once April 14th arrives. We always started at 12:01, so right after midnight on that day, and it ends at midnight on the 28th of April. So we'll be posting a link once we have the voting ballot available for people to vote for among the finalists. And you get to pick one as a winner. So in each category, your favorite. So anyway, next Rhonda's gonna go with the next category.
Next is fantasy, sci-fi, and horror. I thought I put a little sound effect. Okay, Rhonda Jackson Garcia, Nicole Glover, James Meeks, William Rogers, and Ladarian Williams. Congratulations.
Okay, next we have historical fiction, and we've been talking about that most of the night with Angela. So the finalists in that category are Vanessa Miller, Tracy Mungo, Victoria Christopher Murray, Vanessa Riley, and Rashonda Tate.
That's a tough
So
one.
those are some heavy hitters in that category. I'd be interested to see who wins that one.
All right, let's move on to history. There's a difference between this historical fiction, that's fiction. So history,
Yes.
this is nonfiction.
Right.
So we have Amelia Bundles, Mia Mask, Constance W. Porter, Mary Romney Schaub, and Calvin Stovall Jr. Congratulations.
Congrats on those. Next, we have mainstream fiction. So the finalists are, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Chinedu Akebe.
Oh, you did a good job, almost.
Okay. Keisha Bush, Harold Pfeiffer, Christina Hammonds Reed, and Omar Tyree. So that's in the mainstream fiction category.
All right, we're moving on to mystery, thriller, and crime fiction. All right. We have Connie Briscoe, Octavia Grant, Sandra Jackson Apoku, Brandon Massey, and Pamela Samuels Young and Dwayne Alexander Smith.
Right, they used to write separately, and now they've been writing together a series. I think they're up to book 3 or 4 now. So they were on the show to talk about that. So next we have our nonfiction category. And the finalists in that category are Shonda Buchanan, Trymaine Lee, Susanna M. Morris, Dr. DeForest B. Suarez, Dana W. Williams. So congratulations to those people for the nonfiction category.
All right, let's move on to poetry and urban fiction. That's interesting. All right, Breon Dene, K.C. Marshall, S.S. Miller, Kiki Swinson, and Trinity.
So yeah, we put poetry and urban fiction together. Sometimes there's enough of poetry by itself and urban fiction by itself for them to be separate, but we often will put them together because normally there's not a lot in those two categories. So also the people who win, once we announce the winners, and we have a 2-hour show that's just awards, and it's like the Grammys where we announce the finalists and then we open an envelope and then we bestow the award and we give the person a few minutes to do an acceptance speech. So if you haven't watched the awards, then put it on your calendar because it's really an exciting night. We have entertainment like right in the middle of the show. The award show will have some entertainment. And
so I'm going to be doing my African dance solo, and it's going to be very exciting.
You're going to be doing the African dance solo. Have you been posting anything on TikTok? I'm not on TikTok, but I know some people do these odd dances on TikTok. That's what made TikTok famous, these dances. That's how it started. People doing dances on like group dances, family dances, but I still haven't gotten on TikTok. I'm still just skeptical because I know I feel like the Chinese have some kind of what do you call it? A poison pill in there, and I'm skeptical. So I know a lot of people are there. If I see a TikTok, it's on Facebook. That's or
I don't
Instagram.
have enough personal information for them to get anything from me on TikTok, so they don't have to worry
Well,
about
I
it.
don't either, but I just the ideas. People can always twist stuff and make it look like something it's not. With AI now, they can just totally make it up though. They can just make, you be somewhere where you never were. So anyway, our award show is a very exciting time. So and it's live stream. This is the same as this. This is the whole night. It's just the show. The awards and giving away awards. Okay, next is romance. And we talked about romance. So the 5 finalists in romance are Natasha Bishop, Rebecca S. Cole, Alexandria House, Brenda Jackson, and Beverly Jenkins. So those are some names that people know.
Names, yeah. I'll be pitting friends against each other. I just don't think this is right.
Well, it's it's based on the votes. So, it's in the thing about the Black Authors Matter TV Awards, it gives people a chance to compete for awards, and they may not be that well known, but they were able to get their supporters to vote for them. So a lot of times it's a mixture of names people know and some people who are up and coming, which is good.
Right. This is true. This is true. All right, let's move over to women's fiction. We have Phyllis Dixon, Monica Garner, Mary Monroe, Suzetta Perkins, and Nakisha Elise Williams. Congratulations.
All right. Our last author category is young adult fiction, and it is has 5 finalists for that are Russell Andrews, Sarone Harvey, Helena Haywood Henry, Wade Hudson, and Jewel Parker Rhodes.
All right. Now, oh, you about to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Now we're moving over to the bookstores. Oh, I like these bookstores, and I like their names. All right. Let's start.
I'm glad you got this one on me.
Oh, I'm looking at that first name, like, ooh.
I'm not sure what it is. Just say Emily.
I'm gonna venture here.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, all of these names.
They're all long. All right.
Emily Autenreith, A Seat at the Table. Oh, I remember this. She had that pretty bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Demetrius Frazier, Resist Booksellers. Sherelle Goloversik, The Book Readers Venue. Otis Muhammad, Respect for Life Bookstore. And L'Oreal Thompson Payton, Zora's Place Bookstore. And I think this is I'm glad that I got this category to announce. This is the inaugural National Black Bookstore Day. And I actually posted a couple of TikToks, Instagram Reels and so forth, highlighting some Black bookstores in the DMV in New Orleans. So if you go to my social media, you'll see those. So I'm glad I got to announce this category. So yay to all of the Black bookstores in the areas.
Yeah, I saw that today. And well, I didn't see yours, but I saw that it was National Black Bookstore Day, and it was news to me. And I wonder who started it. You can make something a day. It's some kind of process that you go through, and you can do it all online. And I'm wondering who created it.
Yeah, I didn't read enough on it because it was late when I saw it. And
Okay.
This is a really nice thing to highlight our Black bookstores because so many of them are going away. And I thought it was a nice way to just give love to the bookstores that are still around and are still thriving.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that April 7th is on my calendar. So next year I won't forget. I'll know and I can announce it. Because there are some like the independent, let's see, the independent bookstore day is coming up on the 26th of April.
Oh, okay, good.
It's National Independent Bookstore Day. So that one's coming up. And then there's another day. National Black Authors Day comes on May 4th. I haven't written. So those are two that are coming up. And I think the author day was created by Kim. Oh, it was either Kim Oglesby or the lady who she had some kind of other Black Authors Association or something. I can't remember, but she was on the show.
I just looked it up. It says it was established by the National Association of Black Bookstores.
Oh, the Black Bookstore Day?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they just created that organization.
It was initiated by Kevin Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah,
but it's not, I don't think it's the Kevin Johnson that we know.
Yeah, no, the Kevin Johnson who's the former mayor of Sacramento and who also used to play basketball.
Okay. Yeah, I've been looking at that because I wanted to get someone from that organization on the show. I just hadn't taken the next step, but it's on my list of people to invite because I want to hear about what they're doing and what they're planning and, you know, how they got started and how did you become a member and all of that. So I'm going to be working on getting someone from that group on the show. So the last category is book industry support. And as I mentioned, these are people who've been on the show. That was a big category. So to narrow it down to 5 people it was a lot of competition. I think it was about 15 people that were in that category. And these are people who are not authors and they're not bookstores, but they're in the book industry in some way. So the first one is Lolita Allen with Divas Read 2 Book Club, Curtis Bunn with the National Book Club Conference, Shanitha Burton with She Publishing LLC, Tampia Jones with Cover Girls Book Club, and Tamika Newhouse with the AAMBC Book Awards.
That's going to be a tough category too, because all of them have been doing some great things.
Yes. And also with 3 of the 5 being in the book club space, it shows the real importance of book clubs to this industry.
Yeah.
So, and Rhonda and I will be in Atlanta at the National Book Club Conference. And it's like July 31st or something through August 2nd, something like that. So we're going to be there again this year and looking forward to that. So that is all in terms of the finalists. I had mentioned earlier that this episode was sponsored by author Sherman Dumas, and he has a new book out called Family Matters. We appreciate his sponsorship. And also, I had announced that Rhonda received an award, and she has a new magazine. So she's doing, I don't know, when do you sleep? This is what I want to know. I know I'm busy, but I don't have a full-time job. Well, my full-time job is working for myself. So I don't have like a 9 to 5, and then I have to do all the stuff around it. I don't know how you do all the things you do, but when, busy people get things done. That's what there's a saying about that, and that's true.
This is true.
So we're going to end the show. We're just like a minute early, but that's fine. We're done. And we look forward to seeing you all next week on another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, and I'm signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.